drop these. Everybody drop these. Everybody drop these. Everybody drop these. Everybody.
Ah, he wants to go off-road!
Are you gonna shoot that shot when you get the land?
Yo, he was right on my ass, man. You wide open.
Who wrote this?
I did.
Ask him if he got the letter.
Did you get the letter?
What letter?
What's up, man? About to catch a fade, huh? Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya.
Living dead.
Drop these. Everybody.
Let the hate flow through you.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning into The Real Boys, the only show on the internet that gets 8 of us together and talks about movies. No?
Never 8.
Never. The only show that attempts to get 8 people together to talk about movies.
Closer.
My name is Dylan. I'm here with Gleep Glorping. Oh, sorry. No, my name is Johnny Utah, ancient ancestor of Duncan, Idaho. And I'm here with Gleep Glorpington in his hood. And I think he's got a still suit respirator in his nose.
Oh, absolutely. I have my recycled sweat right here.
Ooh, lovely. Me too, actually. Yeah.
Nothing better on a hot Gleep Glorpington dune filled desert day than some sweat that got cycled through my body and then got the salt taken out of it, and it just
I just have to make do with wringing out the old sweat rag. But anyway, we're using a lot of proper nouns today because we are talking about Denis Villeneuve's adaptation of Dune, the of course classic sci-fi novel written by Frank Herbert back in the 60s. It's been an adaptation that's been in the works for a long time because, of course, various world events have prevented people from gathering in large numbers, which includes film production. But you've got an ensemble cast, including Timothée Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin, Stellan Skarsgård, etc., and Javier Bardem.
Yeah, Javier. The cast is amazing.
It is stacked.
It's like the acting in this movie, the costumes, the way it's shot. As far as movies go, this thing is top notch.
Villeneuve really knows how to put a movie together, that's for sure. He's very good at sci-fi, he's very good at spectacle, and he's very good at scope. And that's the word that I see thrown around about this movie a lot, which is scope.
Yeah.
Which is fitting because Dune, if nobody out there knows what Dune is, it was originally a novel published in 1965. It's one of the first space operas, which kind of tells a galaxy-spanning story of politics and warfare and intrigue and all of that. But Dune focuses on a family sent to the titular planet of Dune, also called Arrakis, because they're harvesting spice, which is very important for space travel, and the Harkonnens, another rival family, doesn't like it. And I'm describing the story haltingly because if I did any more in depth, Michael's eyes would glaze over and the episode would end prematurely.
True. It's true. It's so true. I don't know what it is about this series. Like, I've tried to read these books. I'm a huge fan of David Lynch. I tried to watch that movie. I always get about a third of the way through it, and then I'm just like, I can not anymore. And it's like, I've tried even very recently to come up with reasons why, and I absolutely don't know. I think part of the reason is that I want to like it so much, and normally when stuff doesn't like grab me right away, I'm like, whatever. I just don't like this. That's fine. But this I want to like, and I'm gonna die now. My nose piece came out. Oh no.
Well, all right, rip. Don't talk.
Oh.
You have to conserve your body's moisture.
Oh God. Yeah, but yeah, I want to like this. I want to like the books. I want to like these movies, and I just don't, and it drives me insane.
I am on the opposite camp, I think. Oh, somewhat opposite camp. We're kind of perpendicular. I read the book for the first time in high school, and it took me a long time. And I remember thinking, like, that was fine. It was really dense. I read it in college, and I really liked it, but I didn't retain a whole lot of it because I kind of had I had an easier grasp on who everybody was. And I reread it last year when this was originally scheduled for release in 2020, and I really enjoyed it quite a bit. And that's not a ringing endorsement saying that it took me 3 tries, full read-throughs of a book to finally kind of like it.
Yeah.
But Dune is dense and kind of dry, and it's not an easy read in my opinion. So I never judge anybody who's like, I want to like Dune, but I don't want to put in the effort, because no problem.
Yeah.
I know plenty of people who have had success with the audiobooks.
Okay. I'm
Apparently the
also
audiobooks do a good job.
I'm an audiobook fan. I do a lot of like classic literature, which the way that it's written makes me not understand it when I read it. But when I listen to it read, I'm like, oh, this is why people love like Frankenstein is the first one that it was like the audiobook was like, this is what got me. So I never even thought of that. I actually might do that because, yeah, like I said, I do want to like this. It's right up my alley in theory.
Yeah. Apparently the audiobook I'm thinking of, the main one, I believe is narrated by Charlotte Rampling, the woman who plays the Reverend Mother who gives him the hand in the box test. Apparently she's the woman who reads out the audiobook.
In the Lynch movie or in the new movie? In
the new movie, I think. Someone in the new movie reads the audiobook. I'm probably incorrect about who exactly it is, but someone in the movie does. But yeah, I mean, Dune, this is, I always say we shouldn't consider the other adaptations, but Dune is so loaded with a lot of other reputation. Like the Lynch movie, I've seen it about 3 times, and every time I watch it, I like it more.
I think I'm gonna give it another shot and get all the way through it, because I did get all the way through this one, and I'm like, okay, maybe now I can get all the way through the Lynch one. And being such a big David Lynch fan, and like, I like 75% of the cast is people from Twin Peaks in that movie.
Yes.
So it's like, all right, I'm going to give this another shot.
That one also has a pretty stacked cast for the time, but
yeah.
And onto this version of Dune.
Yeah, for sure.
It's subtitled. You obviously get the start, Dune Part 1. Which they put on there before it was confirmed that they had a sequel, which has been confirmed as of the time of this recording that there will be a part 2. So we are at least getting a complete first book.
Okay.
Which I'm glad, because this movie, I think Zack is probably going to drop in at some point during this recording, but Zack described this to me as one of the most part 1 movies ever released. Which, it ends with them joining up with the Fremen and going into the desert, which feels like at least a kind of complete story beat. He accepts what he's going to do, and we may not see it, but still.
Yeah. The only thing I can think of is that last Harry Potter movie that feels like the most part 1 movie I've ever seen. Because that thing ends with nothing having happened and everything having been set up.
At least one baby dies in that movie, so that's pretty heavy. Anyway,
that sounds like a Real Boys movie.
It does, actually. We can watch it. I saw it in theaters and I was shocked at how bad it was. But back to theaters. So Dune, it follows the story of the novel really closely, at least from the perspective of someone who's read the book. The family Atreides is given the planet of Dune. They're like, hey, most important planet in the world. Everybody likes you. You take charge of it. Turns out it's all a trap by the Emperor. The Harkonnens come, kill everybody except Paul and his mom, and they go into the desert and join the Fremen. That's it. That's all that happens in this movie.
That is what happens. That is what it takes 2 hours and 40 minutes to happen.
Yeah.
That one thing that Dylan just talked about.
And I'm okay with it. I kind of went in expecting a part 2, and that's when all the fun, well, I guess it's kind of fun, but all the other stuff in the book happens in the second half of the book.
Yeah, this it takes a long time to get going. I clocked it at 1 hour and 16 minutes before something happens. So if you're a fan of movies like a lot of buildup and a lot of like I said, good acting, like Oscar Isaacs is great in this movie, and like even though he's not Kyle MacLachlan, the kid who plays Paul Atreides is really good. Yeah, like Jason Momoa is acting his ass off in this. Like I bought him as, you know, a bodyguard guy who cared about the kid that he was protecting and, you know, all the stuff that he was doing. Like the acting is really good, but you can't go in expecting a sci-fi, you know, Star Wars type, you know, action movie, because that's not what you're gonna get.
It's definitely not a Star Wars as far as pacing goes, because Star Wars is very much intro, action scene, calm, action scene, tragedy, action scene, calm, action scene, ending.
Yeah, you have, yeah, that those things are packed with action, and maybe that's just what my dumb monkey brain enjoys in my sci-fi. Like,
no, I totally get it. This I hesitate to say this movie is more of a character piece than an action movie, because but Villeneuve said that and I'm probably mispronouncing his name despite the fact that I've heard it spoken out loud several times in the past week. He said that this version was very much going to focus on the relationship between Paul and his mom, because she's kind of the one who jumpstarts the entirety of the entire franchise with her actions before the book even starts.
Yeah. I don't know. Apparently, I have asked this question of a Dune fan, and I got a negative, not a negative reaction, but like, this was not. But I don't know if this was the character of the mother or the actress that was playing the mother, but she looked like she wanted to fuck Paul. Like, is that part of her character, or was that the actress looking longingly at Timothée Chalamet?
That's not any part of the book.
Okay.
And that's not the first time I've heard people react to certain scenes between Rebecca Ferguson and Timothée Chalamet with that implication.
Yeah.
I don't know that I ever particularly got that like vibe from it.
I
rewatched it today and I'm like, oh, that's where, okay.
It was a little bit like, it was sort of a little bit before, like, especially in that scene where she's getting him prepped to put his hand in the box. But then when they're out in the desert, when they're on the rock and they have to like put their suits on, she is like giving him the fuck eyes. And I was like, this is weird.
No, that's not a part of the book. I think that was just I don't know. I don't know what else. I don't know what else Rebecca Ferguson has been in, so I can't say if that's just how she acts.
Okay. And I don't know. I mean, she's not bad. And she's doing a thing, but it seems like that's a thing that she's doing. I don't know. I didn't particularly pick that up on my first watch, but I was kind of like looking for it. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that stands out is that scene when they are putting on their still suits. And I'm like, you turn around to make sure they know what they're doing. Yeah.
But it's the acting that I guess gives people this view anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is interesting because in the source material, the Harkonnen Duke is a predator of some unfortunate appetites. Yeah.
Okay.
Which they
So
completely removed from this.
the one that's played by Bautista.
Skarsgård, the one who
okay.
hovers all
Right.
over the place. Yeah, he's
Okay,
way creepier in the books and in the Lynch adaptation.
And they could have done creepy with him. Like, he does creepy pretty good.
And and I'm thinking primarily of the Harkonnen family pet that you see in the single scene. It's
Mhm.
the humanoid spider with the hands.
Mm-hmm. That might have been my favorite thing in the movie, was that weird spider thing. Because I was like, up until then, I was like, whatever. This is just. I think the other thing that I like about Star Wars in particular is the aliens all like look crazy. Like, there's huts and there's, and it's like, it's a lot of humanoids, but there's also a lot of like extra limbs and different colors and weird beaks and stuff. But this is like just a bunch of humans.
Yeah.
It's like just a bunch of humans that dress differently.
They don't do it much in the movie, but the thing about Dune is that in order to replace a lot of technology, they lost human mutation and like guided genetics and stuff take over. So when his assistant Thufir, his eyes go white, he's actually like a mental computer. And you've got the doctor who's supposed to be conditioned so that he can't ever break his oath to the family, which they don't go into in the movie. And you've got the Bene Gesserit, who are like minor psychics and that sort of thing. So that's Dune's whole deal, is that humans modify themselves to the point where they can fill in those gaps.
Oh, okay. So they are just humans.
Yeah.
See, that would have, if they would have explained that a little bit better in the movie, I would have been able to get that. But they didn't. Yeah, that was something that they didn't talk about at all.
No, they don't. And of course, the spice mutates you into this weird, like, the navigators turn into these, you'll see them in the Lynch movie, weird half worm creature aliens or something. And there's some stuff in the later books that gets really wacky, but of course we're not talking about those really.
The ones after Frank Herbert died, because I do have all of them. I'm pretty sure I have every single book in the Dune series, and I've read 1/3 of one of them.
Even Dune Messiah, the second one, has some really weird stuff happen. And then then they get kind of progressively wackier. And then once he dies, I think a lot of people kind of like write that off as B tier canon.
Yeah.
It's like this. It's like what Disney did to Star Wars. But Villeneuve's Dune.
Yes.
I mean, it's a topic that's pretty loaded, so we can talk about like just Dune as a concept for a long time. But
yeah, because really, I mean, again, this is not. I'm going to say bad things about this movie because I thought this was dull as dirt, but I can't say that it's bad because it's not. Like, it is, like, the story is interesting in theory, and the acting is good, and it's beautiful to look at. The costumes are like, that is the aesthetic that I like aspire to have. Like, I want to dress like that all the time.
with the face bubble just constantly giving you drugs.
Just all sorts of crazy shit. Those suits are awesome looking.
Yes.
Like, I love stuff with straps and, hood, like big hoods and stuff like that. The movie is great to look at. There's something in my brain that turns off and turns it into static and white noise when I'm trying to watch it. But yeah, I mean,
no, I think you're right. The aesthetic of the movie is like, it's been a long time since I've seen a sci-fi movie where I had such a visceral reaction to what was on screen, like just being portrayed. And I think the first time in this movie that I noticed was when the Emperor's envoy messenger or whatever comes to the Atreides family, and you see the people with all the face domes, and I'm like, cool.
Yeah,
we're doing like body tanks and like mobile tanks, and the choice to have the sandworm teeth be similar to like whale teeth was great.
The sandworm looked like a hairy asshole, and I could not think anything differently.
Get it out of your system. It's inevitable. Like, I mean, of course. I am not surprised, Michael, that your thought on seeing a large circular opening was, yeah, that's an ass. Like,
Yeah, I mean, look, I spend a lot of time on the internet.
yeah, no, I do.
so-
I do too. I guess I've just been desensitized. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it was just like the build up to the sandworm, and these things are huge, and this, and they look terrifying, like coming at you underneath the sand. And then when it actually emerges, I think it was not just the way it looked, like it didn't look threatening at all. And it was also so big. Like those things were so big. It's like, why would this thing even think about eating people? It wouldn't be a snack for that thing. It would be like when we walk through and a gnat flies into our mouths.
Yeah.
Like that's the sort of thing. It almost seems like if they were to eat a human, it would be by accident, because why would they even bother?
In the desert, you got to eat what you can get. And
I
if
guess
this little two-legged thing is walking around in my backyard, I guess I'm just going to swallow it up and get rid of it.
You want to talk about a little thing? Like it seems like the cutest thing that I've ever seen were those little
Am I on?
mice with the huge ears.
Hey, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Once again, I can't hear anything.
Wait, really?
But apparently there's some kind of like robbery or something going on back there. So I kind of threw off my anyway, listen. So Dune, right? This movie is one of the weirdest movies to be able to make me both love it and really just be nauseated by at the same time. It's an hour and a half of looking at like a picture that maybe moves. I don't know. The thing is that it's so beautifully made, and Villeneuve did such a great job, and he has such a passion for this story, and you can tell that he absolutely loves this thing. The only problem is nothing really happens. It somehow turned in. Oh yeah, that's me. I'm Zack Wiseman, by the way. It somehow turned into like a 2.5 hour trailer for what I think is going to be an amazing part 2. So I have to give it 8 reels, only because I have watched it 4 times since it came out, because I almost can't understand it. The first time I was like, it's boring, and I stopped it halfway through and finished it the next day. Next day I watched it all the way through and was like, okay, it's beautiful, it sounds great. Then I watched an interview with Denis Villeneuve, and I was like, okay, now I understand his point of view when making it, which upon the next rewatch, ended up loving it a lot. Very well calculated, very well put together. Every scene is intentional, and it's just boring, which is crazy. But I absolutely love it. I hope that when I watch this back later, when I get... Okay, I think they're towing somebody's car now. I don't know what's going on. It's crazy. Either way, I love the real boys. Do not miss Phil Better. Definitely miss Justin Wallace. 8 solid reels. And I'll be there Monday for whatever that show that we're doing is. Either way, Dylan, I love you. Mike, hey, good to see you, pal. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. Not turn this off.
Okay. Oh my God, I kept the recording going.
I would like to thank Zack Wiseman for coming in and saying exactly what I've been saying for a half an hour in 5 minutes.
Yeah. Hey, you're just doing Dune proud by pacing yourself similarly to how the book and the movie goes. No, of course, that was Zack Wiseman. He's also in the Real Boys. He's in the field right now doing some important work, crushing things field, for a living.
Stopping crime, apparently.
I gotta run into the group chat just briefly.
Yeah. So, I was talking about the aesthetics of this movie, and the costumes and the sets, and like the interiors are so detailed and amazingly cool. It definitely, it gives you something to look at. And also, we got Oscar Isaacs, who looks amazing in this
looks-
movie.
It
Like,
looks great.
and Jason Momoa, who's maybe the sexiest person I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, even though they shave him in this movie, which
They
I
do.
think might be a crime.
Might be the first time I've ever seen him clean
It's-
shaven.
I
but
think
it
the
is
first-
down to the skin.
Yeah, and it took me a little bit before I recognized that that was him, and I wish they wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Even though he still looks great. Yeah, I prefer the beard. But the only aesthetic thing that I didn't like in this movie was
Can I guess?
yeah, go ahead, guess.
Is it the wings on their little personnel carriers?
No, I actually
Oh.
thought that was very cool. Like, because they looked like dragonflies.
I don't know what Zach's talking about.
I
anyway.
don't. I never know what Zach is talking about.
Yeah, no, I like the wings too. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of dragonflies and how they look, and they look like ships that were based off of dragonflies. And if you don't have Earth airplane technology, and you based your designs off of a dragonfly, something that that could fly, I think that's what you would end up with. And I actually think it looks really cool. What I don't like is, I don't know if there's some sort of force fields or something, like the shaky red that,
Sure.
every time somebody gets hit or stabbed, it's like a weird shaky red force field over top of them. It looked like one of those Tool videos from the 90s that make me nauseous, and I didn't enjoy looking at it. And that might be a personal preference, but that's what this show is.
One of the main conceits of the novel and the setting for Dune is that personal force field technology has become so widespread and so good that it effectively means you have a shield on almost anytime you're out in public, which make projectile weapons effectively useless. So everybody carries around a sword or a knife, because if you go slowly, you can penetrate the shield, which is shown in
That's
red.
cool as hell.
Right. And using nukes or anything nuclear causes a massive destructive chain reaction. So nukes are generally highly controlled. And using a laser on a shield means that it causes a chain reaction back along the course of the laser and blows up both you and the person you're shooting at. So it's this very interesting kind of dynamic where melee combat has kind of come back in as the standard, because projectiles just aren't generally worth it. And of course, you can't use your shield when you're out in Dune on Arrakis, because it draws and crazifies the sandworms. Yeah. And I will say, it's a little basic to show the shields like that. It makes sense, I think, in universe to have a visual indicator to let someone know that, hey, my shield's been breached.
Yeah, but there's also sort of a standard shield thing, which looks like the trail behind the Matrix bullets. When you get hit with something, it's sort of like a clear ripple. I like that. There was just something unnerving about like the staticky quality of how that looked. And also
the 80s version has this horrific, like crystalline, like prism overlaid on people, and they look like Minecraft characters. It's bizarre.
Okay,
It's bizarre.
I'm gonna have to watch this. I mean, you don't have to tell me that a David Lynch movie has bizarre stuff in it. But yeah, it was that, and also the fact that every time you see this fat guy, who thankfully is much less disgusting looking than the David Lynch version, no like big gross oozing boils on his face and neck, but they are just, he is just eating all the time and eating disgustingly, and they sure do love to let you hear all of his smackings and chompings and slurpings, and I wanted to die while I was watching him on the screen.
So he was put in prosthetics to play Stellan Skarsgård was put in prosthetics to play the Baron Harkonnen, to make him look like a human rhino, because he's huge. And apparently after that, the first scene he shot as the Baron was the that first scene he appears in when he's in like the spa, I guess, the
Mhm.
Harkonnen spa.
Mhm.
And apparently he told the director that he felt so powerful in that version of him, of the character, that he kept asking, he's like, can my character be wearing less? Like, he wanted to be more like simulated nude on screen after that
Yeah.
first scene. And I'm like,
Okay.
hey, if you're playing Vladimir Harkonnen, I guess own it.
Yeah.
I
mean,
guess
he
so.
was again, he was doing a great job as this character. Like,
It's just
like
so evil.
it takes a lot to make a character that looks like that like actually scary, because he doesn't look scary. He looks like he would be like your gross uncle that nobody wants to talk to at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But he, like, the way he carries himself, and I guess that's part of it, but the way he carries himself, it's like, oh, he's more like Marlon Brando in The Godfather. Like, this guy can get shit done.
He's like a Curzon from not Tropic Thunder, the other one. Heart of Darkness. No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's been,
You know
I
what I
think,
mean.
since high
It's been
school
so
since
long.
I've watched
Yeah.
Heart of Darkness.
That one. Yeah. But he
Yeah.
plays him more like Kurtz, which I think is kind of fitting, because the Lynch version has him be this maniacal, like worse than evil piece of shit. And so it takes itself a little more seriously, and I think this adaptation in general works for me, at least as a fan of the book, because this is a production of Dune. This is an attempt to put out a high quality, like bigger than big, epic piece of filmmaking adapted from one of the oldest sci-fi stories out there,
Yeah.
at least in the contemporary canon.
Yeah.
And part of it falls into like, oh, that's Jason Momoa playing Duncan Idaho. Oh,
Mhm.
that's Oscar Isaac playing Leto Atreides. Like, you fall into that trap a little bit of being like, oh, I like the actor
Mhm.
as this character.
Mhm.
And I think I'm okay with it, because it's like seeing Dune produced on stage.
Yeah. And from what I read, like I said, I didn't read the entire book, but I did read enough of it to know, who Paul Atreides is and stuff. And when I watched the Lynch version for the first time, I was like, oh, cool. It's wonderful to see Kyle MacLachlan, but he's about 15 years too old to play this role. The Timothée Chalamet looks like exactly like I was picturing him when I was reading that book.
You know how old Kyle MacLachlan was when he filmed that?
I'm gonna say 32.
He was 24 years old.
Okay.
He was born in 59, and
Okay.
Dune was made in I think it was filmed in 83.
Yeah.
But no, he's got a real bad case of old face in that movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
he's
Zack is putting up a very good point. No one can naked cry better than Oscar Isaac.
I wish there is a naked Oscar Isaac scene that I couldn't stop laughing at, because the way it was directed was making me feel like that scene in Austin Powers.
Oh, sure.
When he's walking around nude and he keeps getting like his dick and ass blocked by the silliest things. And that was exactly what they're doing in this movie. And I'm like, this is taking me out of this movie, but it's so funny.
This got rated PG-13
Mhm.
from the MPAA, and it's pretty tame, all things considered.
Mhm.
Dune doesn't have, it's not vulgar. It doesn't have any real hyper violence to it. There's no hypersexual stuff. There's a part of me that wishes that they had done R just so you can make Harkonnen a little more messed up and let Oscar Isaac hang dong, maybe.
Yeah.
Or at least hint at it a bit more. Because
Yeah.
the way he's reclining in that hover chair is I saw it and I'm like, you're doing your best to be artistic while also demure.
Yeah, covering up that dick. Let me get the unrated cut of this. I want to see Oscar Isaac's dick. Like, look, let's see that dick.
There's apparently, I wouldn't be surprised if we do eventually get like a full cut of this, because apparently they shot multiple scenes that just weren't straight up included in this, and I've seen stills from them. A scene where Josh Brolin his character is like a warrior poet, like he's a musician, and there's a scene apparently where he's just kind of plucking at it's called a balisette, but it's like a space guitar. So scene where he's playing that. There's a scene where the doctor who betrays them is talking to Jessica, and he has to like watch his words because she can tell when he's lying and stuff like that. And this is a situation where I was like, give me 20 minutes more of this movie so I can meet these characters a bit more. And part of that I understand is that I've read the book.
Yeah.
No?
And here's what I'm going to say, and it's going to shock you. If this movie would have been 3 hours, I think it would have been better.
Okay.
Because when you're doing something like this, I do need to know more about these characters. Like, I'm meeting these characters, but I don't really know anything about them. If it would have been an extra 20 to 25 minutes and I learned more about these characters, I think it would have been better. And that's coming from someone who complains about a movie being 2 hours long.
Yeah.
And also, Josh Brolin, holy cow, you forget, because the last couple of times you've seen Josh Brolin, he was a big purple cartoon. He's a great actor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Josh Brolin is really good. Like, I haven't seen him play a good role since maybe No Country for Old Men. But when he goes for it, he's good. And he also as far as characters go, and even Thanos is like this. Warrior Poet kind of describes exactly the kind of character that he should be playing. Like, he's perfect at that. If he wasn't, a big purple cartoon. But you can tell even when he's doing Thanos that, he has emotion and stuff behind him. So, seeing him in this movie was a delight. He's a delight to watch on screen.
It's interesting to see what they've actually put on screen, knowing that the director's such a fan of the novel and has been for a long time, because there's a lot of character interactions which could have amped up the intrigue a little bit if they had included it, and they decided not to. And I'm not going to say that this was a case of meddling from executives or whatever, because I think they gave him a pretty fair amount of freedom on this project. I think it seems with his pedigree, if he's doing a movie like this, I think they're probably like, so long as you don't go Lynchian, but you're okay doing what you want. So it's interesting to think of what he might have decided to leave on the cutting room floor in the name of keeping things accessible and paced.
Yeah, I would. I would like to see that director's cut, though.
Yes. No, I'm really looking forward. There has to be some version coming out at some point, and I'll buy it. I'll buy this movie. I don't know.
I'll watch it on HBO.
Sure. Yeah. Otherwise, you've got Hans Zimmer's score lending a lot of atmosphere to this. It's a lot.
It's
a lot.
It's all over the place is the thing. It doesn't seem structured. I would have liked maybe a little bit more character specific stuff, because that's what I like in this sort of thing, is where, each main character sort of has a theme song. But this score is all over the place, and I'm like, what is going on with Hans Zimmer? Like, he used to be so amazing, and I don't know. I think he's the one who invented the boom.
Yes, and I didn't think it was overdone in this.
Yeah, I think ever since then, since everybody's using that boom, and he just has money, he has money trucks pulling up to his money basement that's just full of money, like Scrooge McDuck. He doesn't seem to care as much as he used to about, building up an atmosphere of a movie.
It's according to Wikipedia, he wanted it to not sound like his old stuff, and the approach he took to it is what he called anti-groove.
Okay.
Which I guess I would never have described the score as that, because at least I picked up like there's rhythm to it. Like it's got a general like drum beats, and like you've got HBO's favorite bracketed closed caption Ancient Lamentation music, which has showed up in most famously like 14 times in Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Oh, okay.
Whenever you get that one woman wail similar to Gladiator, you're going to get Ancient Lamentation music.
Yeah.
I want to go through and listen to the actual score just independently so I can get like a better isolated view of it.
Yeah.
But it did kind of I did go to see this in a theater, and they had their sound system playing real intense.
Okay.
So when the music cut in, I could feel it.
Yeah, that might have been a problem, because I do have surround sound on my TV, but it is, just some speakers and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been probably in the past 3 years or so noticing scores a lot more, and I don't know, this one was just too all over the place for something that's so specific. Like we've both said it, we're doing one thing in this movie, and the actors are doing one thing, and the environments are doing one thing, and the world is doing one thing, and then this score is like tweedly deedly over here, and then it's like weird chunky guitars over here, and then it's like very drum heavy over here, and it's like John Carpenter would have done a better job with this score.
That would be interesting at least. I can't think of. I think John Carpenter's kind of the polar opposite axis than Hans Zimmer is on the epic like bum 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 drum scope. I think Hans Zimmer was a good choice, and I think the score mostly works because it gives it a sense of bigness. But I think a little bit more of a through line might have benefited it.
Yeah, it's big, but it's not focused. And and normally I probably wouldn't have even noticed it, but the fact that everything else is laser focused and the scores all over the place makes it what's that word that I'm looking for? Anachronistic?
Dissonant?
Yeah, it doesn't fit together.
Yeah, I get it.
I probably would like that score in, say, a Star Wars movie or a J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie, but it was weird coming out of this Dune movie where we're doing the one thing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a whole lot more to say about the movie.
I don't either.
Great.
Apparently I liked this movie a lot more than I thought I did while I was watching it.
I mean, it looks great. It's very clear that this was a project that everybody involved was psyched to be involved with. You can tell that everybody involved wanted to be in here. Including like production. Like everything looks great. I love the aesthetic in this movie. I loved the just general difference in color palettes between the different planets. Everything
and even
like
the interiors and exteriors. Like the inside of the palace or whatever looks a lot different than, you leave the doors of that place and you're in a big brown desert. And then you're inside of it and it's like gray and white, and then there's like color splotches. It looks awesome. There, I could never say a bad thing about the way this movie looks. It's incredible to look at.
I do want to shout out to the throat singing involved on Salusa Secundus when they're going to the Sardaukar training grounds. I love it when throat singing shows up and stuff.
And that was, you want to talk about something that was turned up. Like, that was shaking my couch.
Yep. Loved it.
It was intense.
This movie does a great job of making the world of Dune feel like it's 8,000 years in the future, where cultures haven't really survived and everybody's got their own thing going on, and it is an alien world as opposed to Earth.
Mm-hmm.
They like, you know, the world of Dune has some holdovers from our era in the books, but everybody here feels really distinct. It feels really different. It doesn't. It feels like it's 8,000 years ahead of us.
Yeah, and we are working with. The thing that I like in these movies is when the different sort of factions are all visually distinct from each other. Because if I didn't know a thing about Dune, I would know that these Harkonnens with their like Darth Vader suits were different from these, what are they called? The Newmans?
Wait, what? Oh, the
Newmans, the Freemans, the Gordon Freemans, with their like, you know, I know.
Whatever. Yeah, no, you're fine.
with their beige, you know, they blend in with the environment because that's where they live. And then these people who aren't used to this world in these like protective suits that, you know, everybody, and you know who's with who because of how they look. And in a movie, especially a movie like this, that's very important, where you have, you know, 4 factions running around. They have to be visually distinct from each other, and they did a very good job. Like I said, the costumes, wow.
Yeah.
Great job, costume department.
I mean,
I've seen costumes this good probably just in that Mulan live action movie.
Okay.
Was the only thing, because that's what I kept thinking of, because I'm like, I kept saying during that Mulan review, you know, how beautiful everything looked. The costumes and the settings and everything, the action, the movement of the people. I was like, wow, this is great. And I got that same feeling from this movie. Like, everything looks nice, even the way the people are moving.
Yeah.
Even that's distinct from each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, great job with everybody involved. Actors, costumes, sets, directors, DPs. I don't know who else has things to do. A great job, everyone except Hans Zimmer. Like, do a better job next time.
Solid B. I'm still giving him a B on that because I you know, whatever.
I'm giving him a C because he's still Hans Zimmer. It still sounds good, but it didn't go with the movie.
C's get Emmys. We'll watch him get an Emmy for this because he's Hans Zimmer. Anyway.
How many Emmys does Hans Zimmer have?
I can look that up for you real quick.
It's probably, he probably just throws them down in his money basement.
How many Emmys does Hans, let me spell this right, Zimmer have? Google tells me 11 nominations and 1 win.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Oscars, Emmys. Oscars are the Oscars.
Emmys are the
Emmys
TV one.
Come on, man. Those are cred.
Oh no.
Do you want to guess what he won for? It's in the
on
90s.
TV or
Oscars
movie. So he won one Oscar from the 90s.
It is a movie that we have on the show at some point. I'm not going to tell you whether it's coming up or has already gone past.
Oh. I know it's not a Star Wars movie because he never did a Star Wars movie. I am totally blanking. I couldn't.
Apparently, he scored the 1994 Lion King.
Okay.
I didn't know he scored it. I knew, but
Yeah. And
apparently
all
that's
you
what he
know
won his
about
Emmy.
that,
Yeah.
all you know about that is that Elton John did the song. He's like, he
Yes.
wrote the songs.
Yeah, but apparently Hans Zimmer won an Oscar
Uh-huh.
for best score on that movie. So,
Yeah, and you know what the Oscar statue has? It has a nude guy on it, like I wish that Oscar Isaacs was in this movie.
yeah. Yeah, well, maybe next time.
Hopefully, yeah. That if nothing else, that's what I'll be watching the director's cut for.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to say before we wrap this up?
No.
All right.
No. I think I've gone up 3 reels since we started talking about it.
Okay.
Which is not unheard of for me, but very rare.
Sure. Do you want to give your reels and where people can find you and general like that?
I'm gonna give this thing a 7.
Whoa. Okay.
It's. I think I'm definitely gonna watch the second part. It has given me more of an appreciation for Dune. It's the first thing I've been able to fully get through. And I've said it through the whole thing. The acting is brilliant. It's something to look at. Like, I could put on some podcasts and put on this movie and just look at it. And I would have no problem with that. Yeah, just way better than I expected.
Wow.
Even though it's it was the talking that turned into static. It wasn't, what I was looking at.
Sure.
So that's all I'm going. Yeah. So I'm going to give it a 7. I'm as surprised as you are. So
I'll take it.
what I'm going to plug everything today because there's only 2 of us.
Yeah.
Jack Billings presents Haunted Apartment Complex. We are going crazy over there. We have the next 4 months planned out, and it is wacky. Generation Clash, which is a music show that I do with my kid. We've had a couple of really good episodes. We have each other listen to each other's generation's music and see if we can get each other to like it. We pick 3 songs that sort of encapsulate a band, and then we talk about them. It's a really fun show. This last episode that came out was on Paramore.
Okay.
Who I ended up really, really liking.
Yeah.
And then the next episode that's coming out is going to be on seminal hardcore band Bad Brains, who I can't say enough good things about. And also, spoiler alert, the younger generation also enjoys. And then we have I Love This Terrible Game, where we talk about video games, and then one particular bad video game that we enjoy playing. And then I'm not going to plug the other thing because I still don't know when that's coming back. But then we're here every Monday and every other Friday on The Real Boys talking about movies. And if I can plug one of the Real Boys, I know I don't usually do the plugs for the other Real Boys because I don't think if you're not here, you should get plugs. But I do want to plug Phil Better's new comic book. It's called Alpha Flight A, and it's only about the 90s run of the comic book Alpha Flight, who is a Canadian superhero team. And it's not like your normal comic book show. It's like one of those minute by minute movie podcasts. It's a panel by panel comic book show. There's already 600 episodes about it. He
only
puts
been out
one
for
out
3 weeks.
Yeah, well, he puts 7 of them out a day.
Okay. Well, it's starting to be winter in Canada, so he's been snowed in for the past 3 months.
So if you really want to know about Sasquatch and Puck and Megan and Captain Britain, you're going to learn all about this in Alpha Flight A.
Yeah. No,
So
good
that-
plug. Yeah, go
yeah,
listen to
check-
Phil Better's new show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe this one will actually take off. You heard Michael. My name is Dylan. I'm from Some Nobodies. I'm giving Dune an 8, same rating as Zack. That is my purely subjective rating because I understand that Dune is not for everybody. I liked it, and I'm excited for part 2 for all the reasons I listed. And that gives us an 8, an 8, and a 7. Gives about 7 2/3 reels on average. Close enough to what I think it deserves. I feel like this is a pretty solid 8 out of 10, but that's okay. I understand.
I'll bring it down.
That's
I'm
fine.
Harkonnen or whatever.
Before I get to my own plugs, I am going to be benevolent. I'm a benevolent one here. Shout out to Chris Harvey. He's a performing comedian. You can find him on the Chris Plus Chris show. He also tours and does stand-up comedy. He's got some sample bits on his website. DL Smokes of Oops Caught Me Smoking. He's usually here on Mondays. You can catch him also at Bet That with Dan and Jerrion Blaze, who also does the Cloud Chronicles podcast. He does some interviews on that show. Feel better with the thousands of shows he's been doing. What else are you going to do when you've chosen this as your main hustle? Yeah. Rise and grind, as he says, every day, all the time. It's weird.
Grinding.
And then, of course, go ahead.
He used to stand up. I don't know if you noticed, but he used to stand up when he was doing his shows, but like his legs actually just like gave out. So he has to sit. Like that gamer chair that he's in is actually has handles on the back, and he has to have his poor servant. I feel bad for whoever has to take him to the bathroom.
Hey, that servant, that's just his hustle and grind. So he's doing what he's doing best. And of course, Justin Wallace of Anime Shenanigans, where they talk about anime and shenanigans that come with it. Yeah, I don't know. And then my plugs, of course, Dylan, you can find me on Some Nobody Stuff, Silicon Angels, CYOP Appeal, Talking Upstream, Twitching Upstream, which we do every Tuesday. You can catch that at about like 3:30, 4-ish Mountain Time. You can do the calculations on when that applies to you. Here, Mondays and most Friday and every other Friday. And of course, No Time to Binge. Go listen to the backlogs while we get it set up for the eventual inevitable return. You can't escape.
Yeah,
for you.
I was actually thinking about messaging the group because I can't wait to do that show again. It seems like everybody's healthy and sane again.
Yeah.
At least, as far as people can be sane in these times. But it seems like it's just a scheduling thing. It's just a matter of getting the scheduling fixed now. But I didn't want to get myself excited for it because I miss doing that show so bad.
Me too. It's a fun one. And of course, people listening will be the first ones to know when it starts coming back. Until then, you can always get your fix of us here on The Real Boys. Next Monday, we're doing Dan's number 2 movie, Training Day.
I've never seen it.
I haven't seen it either, but by all accounts, it's good.
Yeah.
And
I mean, Denzel Washington.
Yeah. And then on the 8th, we have Chris Harvey's number 2 movie, The Lion King. I'm pretty sure the 94 version. He's been joking about doing the live action one.
I'm watching the live action one.
Yeah,
that's the one I'm going to be reviewing.
Whatever. All right. And then on the 12th of November, we will be doing probably a Real Wheel. I think that's the plan. We're back to the Real Wheel.
Yeah.
We have to punish ourselves after having a few weeks of good movies.
Let's take everything off the Real Wheel except Rubber. And then Rubber. We can just watch Rubber.
Nobody's here to tell us we can't just do Rubber. Let's just do Rubber.
Ooh, let's just do Rubber. Let's just say November because 12th, nobody ever listens. Nobody who's on the show listens to it when they're not on it. So we can just say that the Real Wheel picked Rubber.
Yeah, cool. Real Wheel picked Rubber. The timestamp is 59:21. You can show them that later on. So yeah, we'll do Rubber on the 12th of November, 2021. If you happen to be listening to this years out, good for you. I hope the Wasteland treats you okay. My name is Dylan. That's Michael. You heard from Zack earlier. You'll hear from other people on occasion. I think that's all I have to say. Michael or Cleep Glorpington, do you want to play us out?
Yeah, I'm just sorry for everyone in the wasteland in the future, the inevitable wasteland. I'm sorry that you have to listen to us, but at least it's better than being alone in that cave that you live in, that you killed that bear, so that you could have some warm clothing and something to eat for at least a couple of days. So good luck out there. And
if they killed a bear, they're doing okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've already long died since the wasteland came in.
I hope I have.
Yeah, definitely. Either that or I'm like chained up to some emperor's as his like clown, like a jester. And then hopefully I tell a really bad joke and then he just cuts my head off.
Of course, if you're listening to this from the wasteland, this has been another sermon from your savior, Dylan. And I'm going to play us out now. Take it easy out there, everybody. Be well.
Drop these. Everybody drop these. Everybody drop these. Everybody drop these. Everybody.
Ah, he wants to go off-road!
You gonna shoot that shot when you got the leg?
Yo, he was right on my ass, man. You were wide open.
Who wrote this?
I did.
Ask him if he got the letter.
Did you get the letter?
What letter?
What's up, man? About to catch a fade, huh?
Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya.
Living dead.
Drop these. Everybody.
Let the hate flow through you.